What is up, everybody? Welcome to Into the Cypher State. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network, the ZK-powered Layer 1 blockchain for decentralized society and private real-world on- and off-ramps. This is an open stage, everyone, so if you'd like to pop up and share your opinions, you are more than welcome. I'm up here with my favorite co-host, CosmosHOSS. How are you doing today, buddy?
Doing well. I just got back home. Trying to eat and multitask right now, and my phone was about to die, so I'm sitting here on the charger as well. So all is well. Very interesting, and glad to be here.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. So you're tethered to a chair, eh?
Yeah, I'm not sitting in front of my computer right at the moment, but I think my phone may be good here soon. I'm at like 23% now, so we're all is well, man. It's looking good. Optimistic here.
Okay. I think that's good enough for like an hour and a half. We should be okay.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, man. All right. Okay, guys. So we've got a quick disclaimer, as always, before we catch up and before we get on with everything. It's very important to remember, guys, that myself, anyone on the team, or Hoss himself, we are your guides to navigating the cypher state, but we are not your financial advisors. Any guests' opinions are their own, and nothing said on this space constitutes financial or investment advice. Okay, guys. So we've got that out of the way. Let's get. Oh, we've got Triggs requesting to come up. Of course you can, my friend. Always welcome. Let's get you up there, buddy. So what we're going to do, we're going to get comfortable. We're going to be talking about all the latest news today, as well as obviously airdrops, which is always a fun subject. But we'll start off with the news. So first things first, guys. If you could drop down to the bottom right-hand side of this space, give us a like and a retweet on the space. It would really help us out. If you have any questions or comments as we go along, make sure you put them in the comments box. And if you would like to contribute, you are welcome to come up as a speaker. Speaking of which, how are you doing today, Trix?
Doing pretty good. Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. I'm on my phone as well. Also trying to wrangle some lunch in my hectic schedule. But yeah, good to be here. Excited to jump in on the topics.
100%, man. It's always good to have you up, dude. Okay, so in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to head straight on with the news. We'll get some more people in here, and then we'll get on with the main topics. So, what's been happening in Web3? There's been a lot. I would say there's been a lot. So first things first, we've had the COPA, COPA, the Crypto Open Patent Alliance, suing Craig Wright in the London High Court. Wright seems to have been, well, firstly, for anyone who doesn't know, Craig Wright is the guy who claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto. I think he's an Australian dude, but he's I think he's one of the only people who genuinely claims to be Satoshi. Who actually makes an attempt at it anyway. But COPA is saying that he's basically provided, but almost all of his evidence has been forged in some way or another, and has provided receipts for this with all the files that he's provided, having numerous edits and it basically is all fraudulent. And even his expert witness that Craig Wright brought on himself has agreed that a lot of this is fraud. So I'll just ask a very quick question, guys. What do you guys think of Craig Wright? Open to Hoss, maybe. We'll go for Hoss.
I think he's a little bit peculiar. I mean, I don't know who would openly try to claim they're Satoshi, first off. Second off, could be wrong, not being a cavalier, but if I had to bet my life on it, I'm pretty sure the person that did create Bitcoin is American. Just my thought is they clearly understood the economic cycle, the U.S. debt cycle, and it kind of coincided with the 08, 09 crisis. And yeah, so like I just think the person was American, but also even if they weren't, they knew how things really operated in America. And it's just like I said, the Bitcoin halving it just coincides exactly with the United States debt cycle, and that all kind of really started in 08, 09 time frame. But as for him, I think he's peculiar. I mean, I don't think anyone would open. Like, if I was Satoshi, I would never tell anyone. Like, why? What benefit do you get out of it? You know what I mean?
It does.
I don't think.
Like Satoshi does. Like the guy who did Bitcoin does not strike me as the kind of guy who's going to be either emotional, like emotionally attached, or someone who's ego driven. I don't know what you think, Triggs. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, the whole premise of his whole stance just doesn't make sense. Because yeah, why would I mean? I personally don't believe that Satoshi Nakamoto is one person. Just makes sense to me that it's a pretty big endeavor to do what they did. I imagine that there's probably multiple people behind the moniker of Satoshi Nakamura. And yeah, none of them are going to ever say who they are because it would completely undermine everything that they did. I mean, it's like you start a revolution and then it turns out that it was just a scam that you were trying to, like, build popularity for yourself. I mean, the fact that the guy is trying to leverage the identity of Satoshi Nakamura for his own personal fame and recognition just proves that he's not, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm very much inclined to agree. If anyone in the audience has been following, I mean, and watched it, he's been massively emotional. He denies all these allegations against him that he's forged all these documents. He says that there is a conspiracy against him, in order that like people who have been accessing his personal data and changing the documents that he used as evidence. It's all. I don't even know how this even got into court when I look at it closely. It's madness. So hopefully the Crypto Open Patent Alliance, which is from Coinbase, various other big players in crypto, will just kick his butt and we can end this sorry story and get on with lives. So in more interesting news, we have Metamask, which has added Robinhood integration. So that's pretty massive. So Metamask is obviously, they have, I don't know, like several tens of millions of monthly users. They're partnering with Robinhood, basically just to simplify buying and using crypto. So they're basically integrating with Robinhood Connect, which will be added as one of MetaMask's payment options. So you'll be able to basically fund self-custodial wallets directly. Now, I was actually on a space maybe 2 days ago where they were discussing MetaMask and its maybe perhaps less than stellar decentralization with the people who are behind it. I don't know if either of you guys have an opinion on on MetaMask itself or just this integration with Robinhood.
So my things with MetaMask, it's not a knock on them, but like having to change networks and it doesn't do it automatically for you is like totally 2017. And what separates like the Cosmos feel compared to EVM feel on MetaMask is, Kepler. Like we'll just use Kepler for an example. There's other wallets; they're all the same. But like Kepler, for an example, I don't know. There's probably at least 85 different L1s in Cosmos, and you don't need to know. Oh, you're using this blockchain, then you're using that blockchain. Like on EVM, it literally you can't use it until you physically change your network every time, which is it's just moronic. But as for that, I mean, obviously, it's a net positive being able to tap into a user base that can potentially, have some stickiness to come over to crypto or vice versa. I mean, it's a net positive on both sides, even if even if I technically wouldn't use either one. I mean, yeah, so I think that's good. Any way that you can get new people into this space, like use Robinhood. Imagine having, as much as a lot of people don't like banks, but maybe say like Chase Bank one day has a way to have DeFi implemented right in their app, and you have another user base. So I think it's always a positive in a sense. Now, I know MetaMask has some very odd tracking at times. Like if you're using like public nodes, they track IP addresses from what I heard, which that's to me is a no. I don't like that. Being able to, I think it's borderline criminal if you're tapping into people's IP addresses anyways, and like tracking it and okay, this wallet's from this area. Like I just don't like that. I think it kind of defeats the premise of crypto and encryption and things of that nature. And I know that there was a thing not too long ago about MetaMask doing that. So
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I think it just highlights the fact that regardless of how well established any company is, you should always keep up your due diligence and make sure that you like fully understand. If you're comfortable with them, fine. But if you care about your privacy, if you care about your data, then you should definitely like just keep tabs on what people are doing, the development cycles of these products that you're actually still using, and don't just keep on using them because just a legacy decision or something. Triggs, what do you reckon about this one?
Yeah, I kind of just mirror the same sentiments. I feel like MetaMask has done a tremendous job of like onboarding the whatever wave that we're in. You call it the first wave or the second wave. I don't know. Crypto's been around for a while, but like this last bull cycle was kind of like the big main adoption wave for consumer crypto. And I mean, MetaMask made that possible. The last bull run wouldn't have happened without MetaMask. And now we've got all kinds of alternatives. And that's great because competition, is an important part of the marketplace and the ecosystem. And open systems aren't any different. We still need competition in open systems. And MetaMask isn't necessarily as open as it could be. It's a little bit more centralized. Maybe they have some privacy issues that I think are pretty significant as well. But it's a reflection I see as like I mean, you kind of mentioned like the legacy thing. Web 2, like developers know how Web 2 works because they've been building for Web 2 for a long time. And the mindset of how applications work in the Web 2 world is really deeply ingrained. It's like a cultural thing for people who've spent the majority of their adult lives building code for these types of applications. So I don't think it's surprising that a lot of these kind of like early versions of Web3 tools are going to have these like vestiges of Web2-ness still ingrained in them. And that's the importance of competition. So I'm glad that there's alternatives to MetaMask because it helps draw attention to the flaws of MetaMask. And, maybe MetaMask will improve and continue to decentralize. I know they have like a progressive decentralization roadmap. I don't know how seriously they take it, but without the competition of alternatives that are Web3 native and built by people who aren't bringing these like legacy components from Web2 into the Web3 world, it's going to either push MetaMask out or it's going to push them to step up and improve and actually meet the ethos demands of Web3. So I guess that's my opinion on it.
I love that. I love that, Triggs. Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things about the open nature of crypto. It's just this. It's just immense competition. Like competition just drives absolutely everything, and it's driven the space to produce some amazing things. It really has. I mean, it's also incentivized us to do some pretty bad things, but most of the time, it's building just the most incredible protocols and things that will improve mankind. So I love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, I think I've got one more little thing on my little news list right now. In fact, two things. So I want to talk about Solana just briefly. So obviously we had a network outage that lasted about 5 hours yesterday. And apparently the cause is actually still unknown. There's a couple of researchers who are pointing to a bug that was ignored and actually possibly foul play, but I don't like to speculate, but that's what they're saying. Apparently Solana devs were focusing on a patch, and in the investigation, they haven't actually released any report yet. I guess it just kind of raises a couple of concerns once again, of Solana's reliability. I think the last time that the chain actually went out of action, though, was early last year, I think. So it's actually, I think in 2021, it actually went down several times. Correct me if I'm wrong. But last year it only went down the once with a major outage. So I'd just love to get your guys' opinions. What do you think of Solana? What do you think of the outages? What do you think its place is? All that kind of good stuff. What do you reckon, Oz?
Yeah, I guess it's. I thought that they were done with crashing or whatnot. Um, I guess the more concerning thing thus far is why it happened, and that no one technically knows right now. That's the kind of the discerning thing. Now, as for crashes in general, I mean, still everything's kind of experimental and early, so I'm not overly concerned about that. I remember using Windows all the time, you know, when I was younger, and it used to blue screen all the time. Like it was like common, like blue screen, blue screen. You know, your shit would crash all the time. So I'm not, you know, concerned with that, because if Microsoft was overly concerned with that, then we wouldn't have the innovation that we had now. And technically, the people that were building Windows pretty much, for the most part, was like kind of permissionless. They would just build it and then get the green light from you know, big Bill Gates or whomever. But yeah, I'm not really overly concerned with it. But in a sense, like Solana needs to work for the overall health of crypto, because the go to market was like, hey, we're going to have all these payments. We're going to have Visa. You're going to be able to do mass ticketing events. Then it's going to cost you basically nothing. You could like mint 1 million NFTs and cost like $100 and super fast. And you know, it needs to be reliable. Like their whole thing, their whole thesis is essentially the stock exchange could be ran on Solana at some point when they do the upgrades for the jump validators and all that. So I think we need them. You know, even if you're not like a Solana guy, you're like, oh, Solana sucks, which I'm not. I like Solana, but if you were, it's like, well, who else is going to do that? Because the vision is to have like everything on chain eventually, anyhow. So we need someone to step up and take that. We already know it can't happen in EVM. It's impossible to happen in EVM. So you know that they need to be at the forefront of that. I just think the lack of communication could be discerning, because I think Natoli was taught. I didn't read it all into it, but someone was saying something that it took multiple hours for him to even be notified. You know, and he's like the guy at the top. You know,
That's
he should
bad.
know. He should,
That's really
yeah,
bad.
he should know right away. Now, I can't confirm with 100% accuracy on that statement, but you know, some people were saying that, like good sources were saying that. So for someone like that, that's basically the spokesman and the guy that's, you know, I mean, the dude literally came over from Qualcomm. Like he should know like everything that's happening at all time. I don't care if it's in the middle of the night and he's sleeping. Get his ass up. If something that serious is happening, like that's not good, you know, for a chain of that magnitude that has billions and billions of dollars on chain to just like go asleep for 5 hours or whatever. You know, it was down for 5 hours. So they need to fix that part of it, the communication, and maybe they'll learn from this. Like the, you know, again, I'm not overly concerned as in like, oh no, like it's gonna crash. And it's just that when they claim that it's ready to go, then it better be ready to go. Like we can't have 5 hour outages. It's okay if you're like, look, we're doing this huge upgrade, or there's going to be a patch coming up, like from, you know, 4 o'clock to 4:15. The chain's going to be down for maintenance. Like you know, everything's going to be halted during that. That's not as bad as it just randomly just goes out at some point. You know, because if you're trying to do derivatives and everything else on chain, like you just can't have that. Like it's just not good. You know, like why would you want to do that? So that's my rant about it. But overall, I think Solana is still really good. I think I am very optimistic in Solana. I've been forever. Even when the FTX thing happened, I thought it was like the best opportunity from like the non-financial advice was like, hey, you know, like let me take a gander at this because it's like down below $10. And I don't think it really had necessarily to do anything with the technology. It was just kind of more so humans just being greedy and just derelicts and everything else. So I was like, I'm not concerned about that. And that kind of came true because of the success and everything else that's been going on with it. So I don't know. Cheers to them. I think they'll figure it out. It's just like they need to figure out the communication side of it though, and need to know like what the hell, like come on, like why did this happen? And if someone's held accountable, then hold them accountable. You know, clear out the dead wood. Then
Hell yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have very like a mixed relationship with Solana. Like on the one hand, I think you know it has its place. It really does have its place within the interoperable Web3. For just the fact that it's, you know, so damn fast, and it's, you know, it's useful in that regard, and I guess it can be used as some kind of bridge in some, you know, in some contexts. But I feel like they fly too close to the sun as far as centralization and just reliability goes. You like you say, you just can't have things that, you know, are related to money being this unreliable. You can't do it. And you know, when we have and we have these major partners like Visa, Mastercard, whatever, looking at Solana, and they see, it's out of action for 5 hours. It's just not a good look. Triggs, what do you reckon about Solana? What's your thesis?
Yeah, I have to agree with Haas quite a bit on this one. I feel like the real problem here is the communication issues and the internal structures. I work for a validator organization that is validating 31 different chains right now. And so I get to experience what this process is like for a lot of these, and a lot of them are smaller chains. It's a bunch of different Cosmos chains, so it's nothing like on the scale of Solana. But it still speaks to the same essential component of every single blockchain, is that there's still human beings that are responsible for managing the tech involved with these chains, even though there's all this autonomy and automation and decentralization and distribution of authority and all these great things that we love about blockchains. At the end of the day, we're still relying on key individuals in positions of, significant responsibility to perform their jobs. And chain upgrades is a massive example of that. On the chains that we validate, it wildly fluctuates between some chains. They can push out an update and they can have the majority of validators online with the new update within 15 to 20 minutes. They've just got it down. They've got a solid active set of validators who are highly engaged. So when the updates roll out, their system just goes off like clockwork, and they're back up and running in no time with the update. And then they wait for all the other stragglers to kind of slowly start filtering to get back up to the full, validator set. But then there's chains where they just assume that updates are going to take 3 to 5 hours. And, that's okay. They communicate that. They're like, all right, guys, we're going to be down for 8 hours today because we've got a huge upgrade, and that's how long it takes us. So they communicate that. All right, I can accept that. They communicate it. Even if they need to improve on that, you can't force validators to perform better. You can only incentivize them to perform better and give them procedures that help them perform better. But at the end of the day, decentralization is relying on all these different validators that are just people. They're human beings that are, in their house or operating some cloud server or working in a bigger data center or whatever. It's all over the board. But at the end of the day, it's still just people that have to click buttons on their computers to make these things happen. And so for Solana, this wasn't an upgrade, and that's what's really concerning. I agree with Haas. The biggest concern is that they were down for 5 hours unexpectedly, and it wasn't because of a botched upgrade or anything like that they know of. So
they were just straight up down.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff that really puts up red flags. I agree. It's not necessarily I'm not going to throw Solana under the bus because they had an unexpected outage. But Solana has an opportunity now to really do a deep retrospective analysis of their process and figure out what are all the ways that we can improve? How can we improve our internal communication so that we raise the attention of the right people faster so we can start responding? How do we handle external communication so that we can manage expectations? All of these components come into play. It still needs to be a well-oiled machine, separate from all the automated, processes of blockchain stuff, but just the people. We need to have the right people on the right speed dials with the right procedural maps in place. If this happens, these are the check boxes you got to go down and make sure these things get looked at, or these people are contacted. I don't know. It's complicated. So I feel sympathy for them for what they're going through, but I also recognize that they have to hold themselves accountable and really do better next time.
100%. I'm genuinely looking forward to that report and reading through that with a good eye. And yeah, I mean, I like Solana. I like them for their ability to onboard people. It's when you use Solana, the actual user experience, it feels like what proper decentralized crypto should feel like, except it's not 100% correct under the hood just yet. You know what I mean? It's it's the kind of speed that you want in a decentralized network. It's not really possible without all these trade-offs just yet. So I'm looking forward to the day when we get like properly decentralized networks up at that speed.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me jumping in to riff off that a little bit, I appreciate what you're saying on like how they're not quite there under the hood, but they've got the right user experience, and that's, I mean, to me, to like defend Solana a little bit on that, which is odd for me because I'm not one to defend Solana, but I think it's fair to say that the entire crypto space is that way. Nothing is under the hood like it should be yet, and that's why we have to keep like pushing the envelope and keep asking the right questions and developing the right use cases to even flesh out what isn't correct underneath the hood, because there's going to be so many things that we discover along the way that really points out like, oh, that was a flaw that we didn't really think of. There's a capture vector there that we never, comprehended, or there's some issue, with this governance procedure that left a hole that we didn't anticipate. And so we it's an important part of the process that everyone involved in Web3 understands that nothing is done, like nothing's fully baked. We haven't solved Web3. We haven't solved decentralization. It's all a process of discovery, and Solana is on a real ripper of discovery for how to build a better user experience, and now they have an obligation of following that up with really fleshing out the undercarriage and figuring out where they need to, decentralize further underneath. I mean, Ethereum rollups are just as centralized as Solana is, and they're facing the same problem, but they have, that obligation of like, how do we follow this up with progressively decentralizing these bottlenecks that we're stuck on?
I couldn't agree with you more, Triggs. 100%. It's I think Solana is they're trailblazers, and just like you say, just like the rest of the spaces, we are at the as a space, as a technical space, we are at the bleeding edge of everything. Like along with the artificial intelligence and quantum computing spaces, we are at the bleeding edge of technology here. And sometimes a lot of us in Web3 do forget that, including myself. We are building something truly special, but something that has so far to go, so far. Like Galactica, for example, we're trying to build an on-chain nation state, and when you actually say that to normal people, they'd probably laugh in your face. But it's one of those things that you have to trailblaze, you have to be at the forefront, you have to. Someone has to do it, otherwise we never advance the species. So yeah, beautiful thing, this space, guys. Just make sure that you're paying attention to everyone who's building, regardless of all the narratives, regardless of all the news, the algorithms, all this stuff. Do some due diligence, check out some stuff, pay attention to some of the people who are building in Web3, because some of these people are absolute, like, beautiful souls. They really are. And they're building for your good. Okay, guys, I'll do a very quick room reset. You are listening to Into the Cypher State. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network. Welcome. If you're not in our Discord, make sure you are, because it's going to help you out a bit. I want you to try and get your Galactica Network citizenship. It's pretty simple to do if you follow simple steps. If you join our Discord and do the Cypher State campaign, you can get a Galactica Network citizenship. I think it goes up to wave 3 or something like that. There's a lot of value there. And if you want, you can also join our Sentinels program. If you feel like you can add a bit more, if you feel like you can contribute more. So please check out the Discord. There are all the links in there. Join us, see if you can build with us something truly special. As far as the space goes, guys, please give us a like and a retweet. It really helps us get the information out there, get us more listeners on the recording. Okay, so I want to, actually, I've also put up on the Jumbotron a couple of pins. Check those out. One is to claim your attendance token for this space. So click on there. You can go through creds.xyz. They are friends of ours within the Cosmos ecosystem. Great guys. I think, even Hoss, actually, I think he might have even introduced us. So they're absolutely brilliant guys. It's a decentralized system, fully private. Please just check them out if you feel like you want to get credit for listening to this space. And the other pin is a feedback form for Galactica.com. So if you would like to, you can be put into a pot for $100 as a reward by filling in the form. And essentially, it's just marketing insights for us. We want to know how to market our protocol in the best possible way for you in the upcoming months, because we are about to go parabolic on our marketing efforts. I promise you that you are going to see some interesting stuff, and a lot of it coming out from us in the next few months. So if you can give us that information, very valuable. And again, you could win $100, which is great. Okay, so let's go on to airdrops, guys, because I am really looking forward to this one. I assume that everyone in this space has participated in some airdrop or another. Give me a thumbs up in the listener panel or on the stage if you have participated in an airdrop, because I certainly have. And I would like to know, guys, if you also like to participate in this discussion at all, please request to speak. This is an open stage. So which airdrops have we taken part in on the stage right now? Like, which have been like the most successful, maybe, in your eyes? Triggs, maybe we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, so, I mean, Cosmos is like airdrop central. There are so many airdrops in Cosmos. I couldn't even begin to like explain how many there are. If you are active in Cosmos, it's just like you can't even keep up. I've ignored more airdrops that I was eligible for than I've actually claimed in Cosmos, and I'm not proud of that fact. I'm like severely disappointed in myself. But at the end of the day, there's only so much time that a person can spend doing this stuff. So yeah, that disclaimer aside, I think one of the first airdrops that like really blew my mind was the Optimism airdrop, because at that time, like I don't feel like airdrops were quite as like universally available. I don't know. I just felt like Optimism threw out so much money at distributing their token across the ecosystem, and it was really interesting how they tried to focus on like wallet activity. It was one of the biggest ones at the time, I guess, in my awareness at least, that was really focused on trying to put the Optimism token in specific people's hands for doing specific types of like on-chain activity. And yeah, I mean, I don't even remember how many thousands of dollars I got from Optimism just thrown at me. And I, at the time, didn't even have any interest in participating in the Optimism network. But that one was like a really big one. I know that like recently for people in the Cosmos, Dimension and Celestia, and what are some of the other big ones? Like there's been a bunch of really big airdrops in the Cosmos ecosystem, but they are getting really picky about excluding people from the US. And so like you have to take that, I guess, into consideration. There are kind of ways that you can get around some of that. Like some of them have been blocking VPN services though. So like you can use, I know Sentinel's DVPN system, since it's a decentralized VPN, it's like kind of impossible to block it. So people have been able to get around it with that.
So wait, at which point are they being blocked? Where are they being blocked?
Well, I know that a lot of websites are just blocking IP addresses across the board, but then they're also blocking like known addresses of VPN services. So like centralized VPNs are being blocked for, I'm not sure if they're blocking at an IP level or just like they must be. I don't know. I'm not like technically smart enough to understand.
So on the front end, on the website, right? This is where they're getting stopped.
Front end blocking.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, I'm just curious.
Cosmos, I mean, they invented the airdrop. There's been airdrops in Cosmos for the last 3 years, man. Like think about it right like this. If you and Osmosis was the first really that I can remember. So Osmosis did an airdrop back in June of 21. Is it 21 now? 21? Yeah, 21. Yeah, it's been 3 years. Damn it, time flies. And it's just insane, man. Like basically they had it like steps, and a lot of teams do this now. They had like different steps you had to do to like qualify and unlock, 20%, 20%, 20%, or whatever it used to be. I can't remember exact parameters, but hypothetically, if you didn't stake, or I mean, if you didn't sell any of that initial airdrop, you probably received 30 airdrops just from staking your initial free airdrop, which is insane to think about it. Like Osmo qualifies for every airdrop in Cosmos. Like if you stake Osmo, you pretty much get an airdrop from everyone that does it. Same thing with Atom. And what's crazy is like, the people that just do charts and all that, they're just going to look at prices, right? Like, oh, and don't get me wrong, I like to look at the prices too, but like in the back of my mind, I'm like, these prices do not reflect how much money you get from just actually staking these particular tokens. Like it's insane. Like they're like, for example, people will ask me, oh, what about Atom? And like, I honestly tell them, like, I don't care. If Adam, I mean, I don't want Adam to not do good, but if it doesn't do well, I don't care, because like whatever I put in there, there's no chance that my money hasn't multiply, regardless of what Adam's price does, because there's been so many freaking airdrops, and like those airdrops lead to other airdrops sometimes. It's pure insanity, and it's awesome. It's just awesome, and that's all I could say about that. And I think it's amazing because you get to become a part of a network. And what's one of the things, and the pros and negatives of Atom per se as an actual token, is that they built this beautiful software kit that everyone taps into, and it's kind of like a unwritten rule. It's like, hey, well, if you're going to use our free software that we slaved over and built this, maybe throw us a bone. So it's like the people that stake Atom, and honestly, and at times I'm like, the only thinking in my back of my mind, like the only reason to stake Atom for the most part is because you're gonna get airdrops. Like it's like that's kind of my thought almost. It's always been my thought. I remember getting ridiculed from so many people for years now saying that, because I'm just like, well, I know it's a long term play, and maybe in the future there's 1,000 chains and they all want to tap into this neutral hub that's basically just built for security and like basically nothing else, since there's not smart contracts on it and things like that. So I understand that can be valuable down the road, but in the short term, it's like I'm going for chains that like basically have good real estate in a sense. It's like Osmosis, in my opinion, has the best real estate in Cosmos. Like every team that deploys, in L1s, one, they probably give them an airdrop if you're a holder, but two, they have a liquidity pool on Osmosis. It's like the financial hub. It's like it has the most relayers. So think of it as like a direct flight to and from. Like all the chains have a direct flight to Osmosis, more than any other chain, including the hub. And it's like, so from that thesis, I've always, from day one, just my accounting perspective, it's like, to me, I think that's the most valuable digital real estate. So it's like in Cosmos. So I'm gonna like make sure that I have more time spent there, or just more wherewithal to that particular spot, regardless of what the app does or what the chain does. It's like I always see it like that. Maybe it changes in 10 years, who knows, I don't know, but for the short term, I always looked at it like that. But as for like airdrops, it's just like, yeah, there's been so many like throughout all of crypto, and like Jito was a really good one over in Solana, where people literally made hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on how they had their situation set up. And the most recent ones in Cosmos, which Triggs already touched on, was Celestia and Dimension. I mean, if you had, and what's cool is they pick different things, and I really like that some of these chains and teams are thinking about like blue chip NFT projects, because it's like a cultural thing. Like owning a bad kid has printed you money basically, like, because it's like everyone in Cosmos that's building, or like a founder of a chain, they all have one, they all do. So it's not like you're just tapping into like just the community. Yeah, you're tapping into the community, but you're also tapping into other chains. And it's almost like a bad kid is like a membership for a new team. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to build this L1 in Cosmos. Well, I better have a bad kid, because it's just like everyone else has one. So you have this like cultural thing. It's pretty cool that a lot of these chains now, and not only are they giving you an airdrop, they're like giving you a big chunk of an airdrop. They're like making it more of a precedent. Like, okay, you're getting, instead of 20% of the airdrop to this chain and that chain, we're going to do like 25% or 30% to any bad kid holder. So like that's pretty cool. And then that's happened over in Solana too with like the NFT that I have, the Mad Lad. Like a lot of times, like you get bonuses and stuff, and it's cool because it's like it's just a cool thing, and like I think that's amazing in this space that you don't get anywhere else. It's like, why spend all this money on marketing and like making commercials and advertisements? It's like, just spend some of that marketing money and just give it to people that are going to probably be lifetimers now, or like they're going to probably want to stick around and see your progression and through your journey of building these sort of technologies out. So like I think it's really cool that this space does that. Compared, it's never been done anywhere before. It's like, imagine every time you bought Starbucks and like Starbucks would give you an airdrop over time, like, hey, thank you for being I mean, they do in a sense, like they give you coupons or whatever, but like you don't get any royalties or money back from them. So it's just a cool vibe in crypto, man. I don't know if it'll last forever, but it is now, and it's awesome. So
Yeah, I mean, there is always the sustainability question, but you're right. Like, it's interesting that like all of these, well, not all of them, but like a lot of these like these prestigious PFP NFTs, they're kind of becoming their own on-chain credentials, like their own standalone on-chain credentials that like entitle you to all sorts of things. And I guess like what do you guys think about the sustainability? I kind of want to ask about the projects themselves, I guess, because the what do you think about the airdrops themselves? Do you think for the projects themselves? Do you think any that you've taken part in have been like particularly beneficial to the project or even detrimental to the project? Because I saw what was it, Jupiter? Jupiter was like one of the later ones I've seen, and just had a vague interest in. But that one, like from a monetary gain perspective, really wasn't that interesting. And they essentially had like a straight up price action followed by a straight back down to the exact same level kind of deal on their chart following the airdrop. So what do you think about like the actual effect on the project when you do an airdrop? Do you think it kind of like leads to just people chasing the airdrop rather than caring about the project? Or do you think enough people care about the project for it to be beneficial?
I mean, I guess I'll hop in. I think it's more beneficial than not, and maybe back in the day it wasn't, because there wasn't this like um this euphoria for it. People before are like, oh, it's free money, let me just sell it. And yeah, some people are going to do that, but it's been kind of, if you trace the trajectory of especially if they're L1s and they're like solid projects, if you had to do some sort of statistical analysis and what you received at first, whatever the worth was. To me, it's not worth anything until you sell something, anyways. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be Bitcoin, anything. Until you actually sell it, you don't incur the actual gain. So it's not like you put your own money into it, right? Um, but if you were just to track it from that analysis, from those who sell instantly and take their money and run and go do whatever, party with it or pay bills or whatever they need. Everyone has different situations. I don't judge people. You can do whatever the hell you want. That's what's the beauty of this space and life in general. But if you just tracked it probably and said, okay, how much more money or positive outcomes would you receive if you just staked all of it every single time, staked all of it, and compared to just sell it right away? You definitely are way up more by just staking all of it, because it gives you more flexibility, in my opinion. Like, one, you're probably going to get other airdrops, like this dimension airdrop that everyone received for doing whatever they did, whether it was own bad kids or mad lads or pudgy penguins or whatever it was. Stake this, stake that, whatever the qualifications are. If you stake this dimension, and again, obviously we already did the disclaimer, nothing's financial advice, but if you stake all of it, I pretty much can guarantee you at some point over either this year, next year, year after, or whatever, or all in between, you're probably going to receive free airdrops for staking dimensions. So like technically you're getting free money, and then you're taking that free money and you're probably going to compound free money with more free money. And it's insane. Like, people are like, oh, how's that even possible? Well, because these teams raise a shitload of money. Like, people were given dimension. Like, I had a conversation, I actually put a tweet out, because people, they're on this modularity wave and all this other stuff. And not to toot my own horn, but there's been plenty of people in Cosmos for the last 3 years talking about everything that Matt White and all these guys are talking about with modularity and comparing it to like cars and everything else. I mean, you can go back and listen to some of my spaces from 3 years ago. I was talking about this stuff because that's the beauty of what I believe the at chain thesis is. And like what Celestia is doing, they're doing it a little bit differently, but it can only be possible with Cosmos Tech. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. What my whole thing is yeah, you can sell it, whatever, and piss off and take your money, but it's definitely more beneficial. And I can't tell you how many people are like, man, I wish I didn't sell my Celestia at $2.50 because now it's at like close to 20 and plus all that APR that you would have been eating up. It's like imagine staking all of it and then every once in a while you just take some of your staking rewards and sell it like it's like a paycheck. Like you're actually getting paid by Celestia. This like $1 billion company's paying
I
you
have to
basically.
admit that I've been
Yeah.
sitting on quite the bag of Celestia airdrop.
And that's been reaching, and you've been getting more free money from just getting that free money. So it's like, to me,
Yeah,
like
the
when people ask
compounding is
me,
actually quite insane, like you say,
it's
and you have to be on the
insanity.
spaces to get that alpha though. Like this is one of the reasons why you want to be in like community spaces for everyone in the listener panel. Make sure you are like on HOSS spaces, on all the community spaces that are just talking about this stuff, because people who are actually verbally talking about stuff, they either give up information more freely or are just more willing to give up alpha than people in like in just general open public text channels or social channels or whatever. I don't know why. It's just one of those social things. People are willing to like give you just interesting information when you're on spaces. So make sure you take part in the
Yeah,
community.
that's how this space is. Last point before I give it back over to you because I got off topic a little bit. But my thing was, it was over basically almost 2 years to the day. I was talking to Yish, which is one of the co-founders of Dimension, and he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, whenever you got a moment, like, let's sync up and let me give you an intro of what we're doing." And I legit am old school. Like when I talk to people for the first time, and it's something that I don't want to say I don't understand, but I don't know a lot about it. I actually literally, I'm trying to find it. I physically write stuff down on paper, and I still have it somewhere in my house, in my office. But I took notes, and then what I do when I talk to people like this is, I'll send it back to them like a synopsis, or while I'm on the phone. Or on the call, I'll take like notes and then I'll send it back to him like, hey, what do you think about this? And he was telling me all these different things about what they can do and all this stuff. And then I would send it back and he's like, man, these are really good notes. And then he's like, I would just add maybe this in there, or I would tweak this to make it like this. And it's all like metaphors and analogies and things like that about how to understand exactly how these core technologies can work, benefit. And then I take that information because like, it's not all every day that you get to just talk to, obviously in this space it's really relevant because you get to just talk to brilliant people all day long, and I'm just a student. Like I just love learning this stuff and I take notes and I want to learn. So it's like I think my success, not because I've been working hard, I've been lucky and blessed and all that other stuff, but like I am not afraid to say I don't know something and I want to know it, and I'll ask the right questions and I listen. Like when I'm on these calls with people, I'm literally listening. Like it's like a free education. I don't have to go and pay $100, 100K tuition to go to Stanford or something. I'm just literally listening to people that went to MIT or Harvard or wherever they went. Some of them doesn't matter where they went. Maybe they didn't even go to school, but they're brilliant. So I just like pick their brains and then I share it with everyone. Like that's the way I like to do it. And yeah, you don't get that information unless you're digging in the weeds. And that's what's great about Twitter is that there's people, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, people like myself, there's plenty other people that like literally just give this knowledge back, and it's like free education. You have freaking Twitter and you want to hop on a space. Now, a lot of spaces I'm going to say they're useless, but in Cosmos there's a lot of really good ones because we're a bunch of nerds in Cosmos compared to like Solana and Ethereum and all that other stuff. And a
It's
lot of
always
those,
the smaller spaces too.
it is, it's always the smaller ones. Like and that's the same thing when people are like, oh, I don't have a lot of followers. I'm like, I don't give a shit how many followers you have. I follow people that have like 100 followers, 200 followers, because I'll see one tweet that they sent out or one post that they made and I'm like, this person's intelligent and I think they know what they're talking about. And then I'll just over time see what they're saying, and then I'll comment on it, and then I'll follow them. I'm like, yeah, this person. And then if they reach out to me and they ask me questions, I'm like, yeah, man, maybe I can help you out somehow. And I try to help these people out because they're obviously students as well, and that you could tell that they actually want to be here and they're in it for the right reasons. And it's like me myself, it's like, yeah, man, like there's been people to help me along my journey. I'm here to help you. Like, if there's a gig that opens up, like, hey, like this person seems legit, like, and that's just how this space is. And that's why I always tell people, just get involved, because this space, I feel like it's going to like 10x over the next decade. And there's going to be so many opportunities for people to find a way to like make a living in this space or add value to this space. And I don't care if you know code or not. It doesn't matter. Like there's so much. This is like it's like uncharted territories in my opinion. So like if you're listening and you're like, it doesn't matter where you live at, just get involved. Like you got to be, and the thing is though, it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's easy. I put in 15-hour days, and you got to learn, and you got to want to learn. And if you don't want to do that, then yeah, this space isn't for you. But if you want to, then you can make an opportunity for yourself and your family and everyone else. So, anyways, rant over.
Oh, I hate it when your rants end, to be honest, dude. I love them. But yeah, Triggs, I guess I'd love your opinions too, man. What do you think on like just the general value of the airdrop in its current form? Because I happen to know that you have some really cool opinions on this, but like just anything that you want to contribute.
Yeah, totally. I think airdrops are really interesting, and it's fascinating watching the ecosystem kind of expanding into the airdrop concept. I mean, like Haas was saying, Cosmos has been like the OG airdrop ecosystem from the beginning. But you kind of mentioned it a little bit before about like, companies have these marketing budgets. And the traditional form of marketing was to utilize the ad revenue system. I mean, ads is everything in Web 2 is driven by ads. And even before we had Web 2, it was like radio ads or newspaper ads or even like billboards. Advertisement is the main way to get your message out there. And all of a sudden with Web 3, we've been introduced to this whole new concept of marketing through the form of airdrops. And at first it was just like, yeah, you can airdrop, you can just like blanket the entire ecosystem with your token just to like get maximum distribution. And then you just kind of let the free market do what they will with that blanket airdrop. And there's if people are buying or selling your token, it doesn't matter because they're at least talking about it and it gets awareness of your token. And it's not a bad idea, but I think people figured out pretty quickly that these like wide blanket airdrops, they don't really get the desired results. Like you can do better. Web3, the technology, blockchain technology enables more than just like blanketing the whole world with your token. And also people kind of figured out that was usually how scams operate, right? Like you just like all of a sudden you log in and you've got these weird random tokens or NFTs in your wallet. You don't know where they came from. And then you interact with them and it's actually, like a scam or some sort of like siphon honeypot thing where as soon as you interact with the smart contract, it like empties your wallet or some nonsense. So, there's like moving away from those blanket kind of airdrops and into these more targeted airdrops where you have to actively claim the airdrop to start with. It doesn't just show up in your wallet, but you have to go to a website and claim it. So that's driving traffic to your website. That's exactly what marketing is. And then there's this like interactive component like Haas was talking about with Osmosis, where it's like, yeah, you show up to the website and maybe you get like 20% of the airdrop, but then you have to stake that 20% to the platform to unlock the next 20%. And then you have to do this thing or that thing. Like there's these engagement steps that you can't get that with traditional marketing. Outside of blockchain technology, they don't have the functionality for that type of marketing to intentionally drive specific engagement, at least not as effectively. There's some off-chain kind of things that projects have done in the past, but it's a really powerful way to drive your marketing expenses into a really specific niche of people and to elicit a response from those people that's been kind of like curated and cultivated by the people issuing the airdrop. So I think kind of rambling, but the gist of it is that I feel like airdrops are a massive marketing potential. And I see that Haas has got his hand up, so I'll just conclude with I think that on-chain reputation, like you mentioned it with the Bad Kids, like holding a Bad Kid NFT is kind of like an on-chain reputation thing. I think as we expand into the on-chain reputation component and we start developing a much more robust credential system, because like right now, you're giving out credentials on creds for everyone who joins your Twitter Spaces. Maybe 6 months down the road, there is a Galactica airdrop that targets everybody who has a cred in their account or whatever for having attended Cosmos, these early Galactica spaces. So it's just like an example of how these on-chain credentials are going to be able to empower so much better marketing opportunities. We don't need to sell our data to the corporations, like the Web2 model of users selling their or giving their data away for free so that the corporation can sell it to advertisers so that they can like do targeted marketing kind of stuff. We don't need that anymore. Now users can own their own data and companies can issue marketing, promotions to people who have that data. And then the users can decide for themselves if they want to reveal that data or not. I haven't claimed every single airdrop that I've been eligible for, largely because of laziness and lack of time. But like down the road, say there was an airdrop for everybody who holds this, ZK credential in their account that nobody knows that they have it. But if you want to reveal that you have that credential, you could receive this airdrop. Then you have the choice. You don't have to sell your data to that company. You don't have to let them know this information about your personality or your personhood. You can keep that to yourself, but then you don't get the airdrop. But if you want the airdrop, you can choose to sell that data to that company, and now they have it, but you also got something in return. So it just like creates the sense of sovereignty for individuals to engage in marketing in a way that's not extractive, but it's actually, collaborative.
Oh, too much agreement. Retweet the space, guys. Go to Hoss. What's up, man?
Yeah, I didn't want to cut anyone off. That was great. I just wanted to add too is please, there's two things I encourage people to do or not to do. One is never complain about the lack of money that you're getting. That's just always like a super turn off. Comes off very ungrateful, and it kind of turns Hoss off. If you want to be off the Hoss wagon, he gets turned off.
Never
by
turn
that.
off Hoss. It's a bad plan.
Yeah, that's a bad turn off because I just don't understand it. And the other thing is like, I get that people get, I don't want to say discouraged or they're like, I'm not going to do that. That's too much work. There's been airdrops where like I've had to do very minimal work. And it's like, you look at how much technically that value is. Again, it's worth nothing until you sell it. Like that's how just anything is. To me, I don't care what investment it is. It's worth nothing until you sell it and actually like take the money and do whatever you want with that money. Then it to me is like, okay, you made money or didn't make money or you lost money or whatever. But it's like some of the things you might have to go a little out of your way, but it might be worth a lot of money. And I don't know how much you're making in real life and how hard you have to work and how you have to work with dickheads and jerk offs and deal with a lot of nonsense to make, whatever you're making, and probably not getting the amount of respect that you deserve or, should receive. And I like I worked for, a long time now, it feels like, and had a lot of people that were very annoying, ungrateful, and things I had to do just to like make a living. And it's like, I don't know, man, if I can make some free money for clicking a few buttons and doing a few things and like doing maybe 10-15 minutes of research, it's like probably worth it in my opinion. It's much better than going in a real life job and doing some shit you don't want to be doing. So that's all. I just want to throw that out there too.
It's good observations, man. It really is. And I always use Galactica for an example because obviously I'm minorly biased. One of the things that I think it takes some education to try and figure out like all the stuff that you need to do. There's always like different hoops that you need to jump through to get these airdrops. But for example, if you're looking at more like the reputation kind of driven ones, you have things like our Cypher State campaign. Now, for that you have to join our Discord. You have to verify. So that's another hoop, and then you have to start like actually chatting. You have to do a bit of chatting to get up to like one of the first ranks, I think. So you need to do some talking and get up to like that standard Discord level before you can even start the campaign. And then you can start doing like all the Zeely campaigns, like all the Zeely quests and all that stuff. But as far as like the actual effort goes, it's not a great deal. Like you can actually get to like the level required for a Wave 3 Galactica network citizenship, which is massive, like in my opinion anyway. I've looked at the models for what GNC will give you over time, and I can say that, you know, with good confidence on my end, that like that's value there. And you can get to that point in like, I don't know, a few hours. You know, a few hours work, and you get a citizenship, the first citizenship to a protocol, and the kind of benefits, like the long-term benefits that come from that kind of NFT, of soulbound NFT. It does require a lot of research, I guess, on each, and there's a lot of protocols. Obviously, there's an awful lot of protocols around who are all trying to get your attention for their airdrop. That's the whole point of the thing. But I think research and paying attention to communities, again, like I was saying earlier, just and Hoss was saying, like these smaller communities on Telegram, on Spaces, especially where people are willing to like come on public speaking stages and speak about it. It's the best place. Go on, Hoss.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, I'll just throw that in. I'm not a big YouTube guy, but when I found out about Cosmos was from a YouTuber that I used to follow and, you know, subscribe and would vibe out when he was doing his space or his shows. And his handle is GDLT. Shout out to him. I always shout him out because like his content was super good. Like literally all he would do is he'd have a few monitors up and a million tabs, and he would just talk about everything. He didn't show anything, and he just did a lot of research, and it was awesome. He would just like, it was like, again, free lesson. And this was like 3 years ago, and he was real cool. Didn't have many people watch live, maybe 10 people, 15 people max, like just small. And you know, one day I was like, "Hey man, this is in June of 21." I'm like, "Hey man, like outside the top 200, like what's catching your eye?" And you know, instantly he was like osmosis, and I was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "It's like Uniswap, but better. It's its own chain. It's in Cosmos. Like it has a lot of potential and all this stuff." And he's telling me about this. So you know, I took the information, and then I started doing all my research. And this was like maybe a week after Osmosis has just launched. I go over there, all these APRs and these liquidity pools are just insane. I'm like, this has to be a scam. Like, how can I be getting like thousands of percent APR, you know? And then I started doing all my research on like Sunny and then Josh Lee, and then I was doing a search on what interchain IBC is, and then what's Tendermint, and just all this stuff. And I spent thousands of hours of research, and just from me asking that simple question and following him, you know, and he gives me this like recommendation, and then I do all the research, and I'm like, man, like this dude's amazing. And you know, I started helping out in Telegram, and I never even had Telegram. Didn't even really have Twitter at the time. And yeah, I don't think I even had Twitter at the time. I think my Twitter I got in November of 21. It was the very first time I ever had Twitter, so it was after the fact. So I was just doing YouTube actually. And anyways, just from that, like, you know, it doesn't matter. The dude doesn't have a million subscribers. He had maybe like 1,000 subscribers or something. But like, I just randomly found his content one day because at the time, no one was talking about Cosmos or any of this stuff. And he was just vibing. And I was like, I like his style, and he's real chill. And like, yeah. And that led me to all this. Like, honestly, it's crazy to say it. Like, I had to do all the work. So I'm not going to say I didn't do work and devote a lot of time and spend a lot of time waiting for my wife and stuff. But just because some random guy on the internet was like, go check this out. And I did. And now my life has been altered. So it's been so disruptive because of that. Like I do all this stuff that I do now that if you would have told me probably prior to that conversation, oh, you're going to do this, 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 and this. And I'd be like, you're insane. And so like, that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't matter. You go in some space or some Twitter space and there's 500 people in it live. Usually those ones, a lot of them are like just bots anyways, and just like it comes off not genuine a lot of times because it's like they're just rapid firing, or like the teams that are on these spaces had to pay the guy that's hosting it or the team that's hosting a bunch of money, and it just comes off more like web 2ish and not authentic, and just like, you know, that's my vibes with it. So yeah, it totally doesn't matter how many people are in a space or how many followers someone has and all that shit. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You just gotta like look and be like, man, this person knows what they're talking about, and then kind of see what they're talking about, but then take that information again, don't just run with it and go, oh yeah, well CosmosHOSS said this, like it has to be true. Like, well, maybe take it and be like, maybe he knows what he's talking about, but like let me go do my research, or hell, maybe reach out to CosmosHOSS and ask him questions that you're not familiarized with, and like that goes with any. I'm just using myself for an example. That's all.
Yeah, 100%, Hoss, 100%. And oh man, I kind of want to like just. Firstly, I think I'll reset the space, guys, because we've got some wonderful listeners in here who've been with us the entire time. Absolute much love to you guys, everyone. If you haven't already, if you could give us a like and a retweet on the space. There's been some excellent alpha in this space today. Some really good information, good education. Always worth a like and a retweet on your end. It is free, as Hoss likes to say. So if you could do that for us, that'd be great. If you want to give us a comment, please do. If you want to come up and speak, you are also more than welcome. So just make sure you request to speak if you want to join in on the conversation. What I kind of want to speak about the future, I guess, because that's one of the things we're working on with Galactica is Souldrops. Now, this is like a concept of an airdrop that is kind of briefly touched on by Triggs earlier. And it relies more on data points and reputation in order to like more fairly, or not more fairly, but just have an airdrop be more targeted towards like genuine users of a protocol, or people who have been more active within the protocol, or just people who are like active community members who have got some form of on-chain participation, credit or token or whatever. So this is something that was I guess, I don't think it was like it was probably popularized. I'll say popularized. It wasn't started, but I'll say popularized by Vitalik Buterin in his SBT paper in 2022. And he's basically just like said that, SBT soulbound tokens can effectively, represent affiliations, memberships, credentials, reputation. So that's great for establishing a decentralized identity. And now this is something that we are obviously building with Galactica, is identity and reputation in a way that protects your identity and your privacy. And by having these systems, obviously to begin with, you kind of have to leverage and bootstrap reputation with Web 2 means. There's no real way of getting around it. This is why we're doing our Zealy campaign on Discord, in order to like bootstrap some reputation for you guys. So, you guys contributing to our protocol, and we are going to give you something back in the form of a citizenship. And we're also doing this in other ways now. So, you can do referrals. You can join the referral program. You can get people in our Discord, and you can earn GNet tokens. It's great. But you can also, we're also going to be giving out NFTs soon. So we've got this really cool new NFT that we've just produced. We're just finalizing the details before we announce it. So this is a proper alpha. But you'll soon be able to earn very specific NFTs for very strong contributions. So if you guys were to like do like a really nice Twitter post, or like a video, or a long form article, or something like that that helped us out, that made that discussed or educated people about Galactica, then we'd be able to give you an NFT, which is graded. So like each of these NFTs represents a grade, and you'd be able to get that grade's worth of points or whatever per month, and that would contribute towards your reputation, and will get you a higher ranked citizenship at the end. So there's an awful lot you can do. There's an awful lot you can do with reputation and Souldrops that you can't do with airdrops. So obviously airdrops are very they're distributed very widely for the most part, but they're also gamed. They're very vulnerable to Sybils, to Sybil attackers, in which like people with hundreds of accounts, they game the system. They game it completely. I don't know if you guys have had much experience or had any problems with bots during your airdrop experiences, guys.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely a thing, and they're more relevant. They're real relevant now because people have caught on. And the devs and teams are super busy, and like I know for a fact because I've been behind the scenes and helped teams kind of get the CSV files from different chains and different snapshots, and I've been tasked to do that with multiple teams actually in the past, and it is a lot of work. So they like don't want to do it. They want it to be kind of, in a sense, sometimes they just want to be kind of lazy. Like, hey, let me just take a snapshot. But I think the ones that do a good job or do a better job are the ones that take different things that you can track on chain. Whether it's randomly deciding to pick a governance proposal and be like, you know what, that's going to be a qualifier. But like, don't let people know ahead of time. You just do it. And if people are going to complain about that, then it is what it is. It's like, well, you're the whole reason why we're doing this is because obviously you're not in it for the right intentions. Like if you really like that chain or that protocol, you should have voted on that really important governance proposal that was on chain for 3 weeks before, like, it's like, or whatever it was, 2 weeks before, it ended. Some of these proposals are up there forever. um, but yeah, it's just like you game it, and like I don't really necessarily like the ones that kind of tell you ahead of time, like, hey, if you do this, this, and this, like you're gonna qualify. I mean, sometimes I don't mind it because it gives me some sort of content to talk about, and at times it's like hard to always try to keep fresh ideas and have things to discuss from like from a community perspective. But when you do that, you do open the door for these people, and they have like airdrop farms in places. It's like, oh yeah, let me get six cell phones or whatever it is. Like people are wild because it's like it's to them they can make more money probably ever by going for airdrops than they can in their wherever they're located at. So yeah, I do think that like the KYC and having Souldrops and having credentials on chains for addresses would be obviously more ideal for it to be more of a sustainable slash effective proposition on both perspectives. Because people just they'll do it. They're gonna do whatever. I'm sure there's probably people got this dimension airdrop and probably created like 10 different wallets already, and have like staking their 1,000 dimension that they received into 10 wallets, 100 clip or something, because they're like, well, I'm gonna get more airdrops in the future doing it. Maybe it's true, but there's also ways of going about it otherwise. Like there's teams too, and I don't mind this either. They kind of just, the skin you put in the game is the skin you get out of the game. They're not sitting here, well, if you have a wallet, we're going to give you more because you have 10. And I get it too. Sometimes the best people in your communities are the ones that don't have as much financial wherewithal as well. So it's kind of a catch-22. But again, what you guys are doing at Galactica can help. I don't want to say solve every problem, but definitely make it a better overall experience from both sides of the owl, if you will.
Absolutely. I'll be the very first to admit that we're not trying to solve every problem. That's a task too many. But what we are trying to do is kind of provide a hybridized system in which, like, your financial stake. I truly believe that that does matter. Okay, if you're willing to put a certain amount of financial capital into something, that does mean something. But at the same rate, like someone who puts in like we discussed this on a previous space, didn't we, Hoss? Where like someone puts in 100 grand right into a protocol as an investor. Now I would put them on the same level of like as far as reputation goes. I would put them on the same level as someone who has has been in the community for a year and who has consistently helped the community in some form or fashion by producing content, by just shouting out or being on spaces or making videos, whatever. I would say they're on the same level. Even if that person didn't put in any financial capital, they've put in their social capital into it. And it's like that's the kind of like hybridized system that I think makes sense.
Yeah, I think you guys can do a really good job at that because yeah, like think about it from like we'll just use Dimension because it's the most recent airdrop. Like they did a great thing. Now, don't get me wrong, they raised a shitload of money, and like their airdrop was I don't even know the final numbers are, but it wouldn't surprise me they airdropped at least $500 million worth, at least, right? Like at this point, because the price is doing well and everything else. But from their perspective, if you give more to people that have more, in a sense too, they're going to be least likely to take their $50,000 airdrop and sell it. They're going to be like, well, shit, like it's free money. I'm going to stake all of it, and hopefully, maybe this 50K turns into $1 million down the road or something. Like, as opposed to, like I would, I would venture to say more so than not, people that probably got the smaller ones that maybe receive like $2,000 or $3,000, to me, they're probably more likely to at least sell a portion of it, because that's a lot of money to them. And again, I don't judge people. Like, you could do whatever you want, but the people that are going to probably benefit in the long run are the ones that just take that and just pretend they didn't even receive it and just stake it all, and then hope for the best and probably get more free money down the road. And again, like, it's a proof of stake chain, so it's like you do get rewards, and those rewards could be worth, maybe if you received a decent airdrop, maybe it's worth like a half a day of real life work that you don't have to do. You're just making money doing nothing, like, in my mind. So it's like, I don't know. That's the way I look at it. Like, if I was at the casino and I was up like 50K somehow, like, I'm gonna take my initial money that I went to the casino with, and I'm going to probably take a little bit of profit, stick into my pocket, and say, like, absolutely, I'm not taking money out. I don't care if I lose all this, but I'm going to take that money and I'm going to have a great time. Like, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to drink well, and I'm going to have a good time. Like, I'm going to party, and I'm probably going to try to turn that money into more money, because it's like house money. And like, that's how I look at a lot of these airdrops. To me, it's like house money. It's like, technically it's not worth anything right now. It's just digital, like, eye candy, until I physically sell it, take it to my bank, go buy something with it, pay bills or whatever. So it's like, I look at it like I don't know, like, this is probably going to be worth more in the future than it is now. So like, why do I? Because it's like, but everyone's financial wherewithal is different. Like, maybe you need that 10K or 20K that you receive the airdrop for, and do what you want with it. I'm not here to judge you. That's all.
On the user side, absolutely. Like, if guys, if you end up with a freaking airdrop in your wallet through some token effort, or even some significant effort that you put in, don't be afraid to sell. Really, if you feel like you need to sell it. I mean, no one in the world should ever sell shame anyone. That's a ridiculous trend that goes on in this Web3 space, and I hate it, and I will rail against it every single time.
It's so weird, dude. It's like, I think a lot of times, I think a lot of times it's because could be me age shaming people, but I think a lot of times that's, if I had to, like, if you put a gun to my head, say, who do you think's doing that? I would say younger kids, younger adults are doing that. They probably don't have as many responsibilities. Someone has a family or kids or a shitload of bills. It's like, dude, like, especially if you're an American, and some places in the Europe and all that, it's like, life is so expensive, man. I know some places in the world, like, you can get away with a few $100s and like you can live off of that. Like, in America, it's like some places in America you need to have roommates just to pay your bills. It's like, so it's funny, they'll be like, oh, validators are selling their rewards. It's like, well, dude, they got to pay their bills. Like, it's not free to roll
Everyone's got
out.
to eat, man. Everyone's got to
Yeah,
eat.
like, it's so weird when people get mad that people sell. It's like, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, when I go to work, someone doesn't say, hey, you sold your paycheck. What are you doing? Like, it's like, what are you talking
Nah,
about,
it's
bro?
ridiculous,
It
man.
makes no sense.
I think that's one of the things that we kind of want to do with airdrops, though. Like, the improvements that need to come to airdrops, and I think that comes, like I say, at least some form of hybridized system, some form of Solddrop, is because, like, you kind of want to make as many people as possible. I was talking to a guy yesterday, one of our team members, new team members, about the concept of stickiness. Right? You want to make your protocol sticky. You want to make the people who get this airdrop or Solddrop, you want them to at least feel like they are attached to your community or your protocol in some way or another. Okay, as many of them as possible. There's gonna be people who just do whatever they can to do as little effort as possible to get the most money possible, and they won't care about the protocol regardless of what you do. There will be those people always. But you want to make it as sticky as possible to the most amount of people as possible. And the best way you can really do that is by just talking to people for a start, like actually having spaces like these where you can actually talk to the community and people can understand your thought process as a founder or as a team member or whatever. And then you have the more targeted aspect of an airdrop or Souldrop, like basing it on some form of contribution or reputation. I think, like again, in a hybridized system with finance as well, I think that's kind of the way forward in trying to like make these airdrops a better system overall. Guys, I want to do a very quick reset before I go on to one more thing. You are listening to Into the Cyber State. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network. We are very thankful that you're here. If you could give us a like and a retweet on the space, I would be forever grateful. If you want to drop a comment, great. If you want to jump up on the stage and speak and say hello, we're happy to have you. And I'd just like to ask CosmosHOSS and Triggs something. So basically, I kind of want to put this into an alpha, into an alpha segment. What is the most? Do you have anything upcoming that you feel you are very excited about with regard to airdrops or reputation drops, or we'll leave it at that. What do you reckon, guys? Do you have anything that you're excited about? We'll start with Triggs right now.
I think one of the most interesting airdrop things that I've seen going on right now is the Namada testnet. I found that one really fascinating because they've really kind of dug into the stuff that we've just been talking about, like how do we revise this system a little bit more? How do we drive more engagement, build more stickiness, and get people involved? And so they've launched their airdrop as a part of a campaign on their testnet, and there's this whole, it's like a whole narrative around it, this journey, we're going on this like interstellar journey together, and they launch it as a campaign and people had to sign up for it, and there's a validator side and there's the user side, and it's just really fascinating to see somebody stepping outside of the box a little bit and thinking creatively about how do we make airdrops even better. So I would say that one's the one that, and not necessarily because I'm excited about what Namada is building, but I just find the airdrop itself really interesting and exciting, and I'm curious to see how it ends up playing out for them.
Yeah, they had that even the original airdrop. They had I mean, a big chunk of their airdrop allocation was to people that contributed to GitHub and all that. So it's like really cool that they do that, because there are a lot of people in this space, whether it's like people more on the educational side of the front or people that are building common goods for Cosmos, that kind of go unseen or like unheralded or whatever. And it's nice that like a team is kind of saying like, hey, we see you and here you go. Because if not, I mean, as much as I love Cosmos and how decentralized it is, like you do have to contribute back to people that are building a lot of these different softwares or upgrades or keeping the roof over the home or whatever. Like there is maintenance, and people need to be checking the SDK and making sure it's good, and like that. Some of the time some of these people are doing that and they're not really, I don't, from a monetary side of things, they're not really getting compensated. And it's, someone has to like donate or give funds to those type of people, or those entities, or else it's not really sustainable if you're not doing like this, the standard business model that some teams do in this space, or like the traditional ways of business. So like, yeah, I agree with you. The Namato one was the first one that I've seen that is trying to do that. Like they're trying to just like go out of their way to allocate resources to people and contributors and things. So that's really cool. As for me, like my alpha, like it's hard to say, man. It's like everything is so much alpha. I guess it's going to be interesting to see this whole modularity narrative kind of keep flourishing. That's like the talk of town, and like I think everyone's just gonna, they already kind of are. They're hopping on this modularity train, and which it's cool. Like anyone that's tapping into Cosmos Tech and they're like modifying it or making pre-existing infrastructure better is cool, because we see that there is limitations in this space, And especially if things are kind of bogged down, you'll get users that'll spam 1,000 transactions, and it's like, well, you're just making it bad for everyone because you just keep doing that. You're going to mess the nodes up, and then when the nodes are messed up, then it's clunky or slow or failed transactions and all those things. So like we need people that are finding solutions to mitigate that and eliminate that, because that's the only way the space moves forward is for that. But like, yeah, so like that's kind of interesting. It's not sexy, right? People building like infrastructure to make the pre-existing infrastructure better, but you obviously need that. There used to be dirt roads, then cobble roads, and then it's like, well, someone had to to make these roads better or more efficient, or else like we couldn't move forward in life and all that. So like that's the same thing in this space. Airdrops, man, it's just going to keep happening though, because I mean, I could tell you right now, I'm behind the scenes and I see what teams are doing, like pre-sell, when they're trying to do private raises, and some of these valuations are just asinine. It's like, bro, like you're raising at a $1.5 billion market cap, like you're not even out yet, but they're getting the money, man. That's why do you think like Dimension and like all these teams are doing airdrops? Like they're technically worth $500 million because they're getting people that give them a lot of money. Maybe some of them give them money back in the last bull market. They were, raising like, here you go, here's a bunch of money. Yeah, I'm getting Dimension at 10 cents or whatever, but my money's going to be locked for the next 5 years because I believe in what you're doing. And they're taking that money and they're airdropping it to people. And yeah, people out there that are complaining like, oh, there's unlocks and they're going to sell. Well, bro, like they gave millions and millions of dollars 5 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever for these teams to be able to function. And you're getting an airdrop because of that same person. So like, I don't think it's really wise, or you kind of make yourself sound stupid when you're like, well, the VCs they're dumping their tokens. Well, yeah, dude, you got an airdrop because of that VC, really. So like, keep that in mind. But no, man, it's just all good, man. I'm excited. I'm going to Denver for a bunch of these Cosmo events, so it's going to be exciting. I will make sure that I share alpha. I think it's great to go to conferences. Anyone out there, like if you ever get a chance to.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Dave here from Galactica Network. Unfortunately, recording this after the fact of the space. Unfortunately, the space did rug at this point, but obviously Hoss was just about to finish up anyway. So thank you very much for joining us on this space, guys. It's been absolutely amazing. We had a great time discussing airdrops. This is a weekly space. You can find us next week on Wednesday. We'll probably be talking about building decentralized countries, which is an amazing topic which we are so very fond of. So I hope to see you on that one. So you'll find us on Wednesday next week at 2100 hours UTC, and we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much, everyone. See you soon.